is calling, it's got stories to tell. I've got a few of my own flowing from a deeper well. The cherry blossoms blooming, shimmering clouds, pink and white, and I'm leaving the old things behind.
Welcome to the Midlife Capers Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Highsmith. In each episode, we will hear from people, everyday friends and neighbors kinds of people, who have taken on some sort of adventure in midlife. Maybe it's a creative project where they explore a previously hidden talent. It might be pulling up stakes and moving to a new, unexpected location just because. It could be changing the way they show up in the world. The point is, they are doing something that pushes them outside their comfort zones, responding to those internal nudges, allowing themselves and their lives to take a different shape than they imagined. I hope you will find their stories inspiring, perhaps motivating, and keep coming back as we have new conversations. Welcome to my Midlife Capers. This week, our guest is Laini Brown-Jemison, and I have had the pleasure of knowing her for over 20, maybe like 25 years. And we started as young things at Hachette Book Group together back when it was Warner Books, and kind of came up in the publishing world together. And she is now going to be taking one of my books to the publishers to see if we can get a deal on my novel. But I wanted to talk with her today about a big career shift that she made in midlife. She and I both have kind of adapted and reinvented how we are engaging with the publishing world. So I wanted to share a little bit of her story with you on all of that. But so, Laney, let's start out. And also, I'm very excited that you are my inaugural guest for the podcast. And I kind of blame you for this because it's your idea to help me grow my platform so that I would appeal to publishers. And this is where we are. So thanks for helping me get started.
It's a great place to be. It's a great place to be.
Yeah. So just to start, let's talk a little bit about what life looked like for you before 50.
So life was busy before 50. So I was born in LA, but was raised in New York City. And at about the age of, I would say 25, 26, I moved to Nashville.
Mhm.
And I moved to Nashville with two small children. I believe they were probably 6 and 7, 5 and 7, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
And was like, okay, well, the person who I was with at the time, their job transferred us to Nashville. So I was like, all right, first things first, let me finish college. So I went back to school. And once I finished college, it was, okay, now what? And so I had kind of grown up in book publishing. My mom was the first senior Black editor at Doubleday. And she had gone on to she was the publisher of a magazine. So, I grew up in book publishing,
Mhm.
in the wild, crazy little world of book publishing. And this job came available at Warner Faith. And I applied for the job to be a publicity assistant. Now, my degree was in mass communication, so it kind of fit.
Mhm.
And I started there. And I loved being in publicity because it was fast paced. It was, if you didn't like a particular project, don't worry about it. You'll be working on a new one tomorrow.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I stayed with Warner Faith, which became Faith Words, which was Warner Books, which became Hachette Book Group, for 18 years. And in 2023, my whole life kind of just did a huge flip. So after living in Nashville for 28 years and working for Hachette Book Group for 18 years, I took a buyout to retire early. And it was great. It all kind of came at the perfect time. I guess for me, after 50 was kind of like a big whirlwind of change.
Mhm.
And so I started dating, and I subsequently got engaged, and we decided to get married. And it was a lot of big changes happening. So I don't know if you want me to stop or you want to ask
Well,
questions.
that actually segues right into my next question, which is what changed after 50.
So I don't know if 50 was the magic number, but it was my kids were grown and gone out of the house. They were surviving without me, which is great, surviving and thriving without me. And so I guess there was enough time, for me to kind of focus in on me and who I was and who I am. And then the pandemic happened. So the pandemic happened right before my 50th birthday. So that was a lot of alone time and a lot of, trying, just being introspective on, what does the rest of my life look like? How does this happen? What happens going forward? And right before the pandemic, so November is when I met my now husband. And we just kind of hit it off really well. And I wasn't the person I wasn't ever the person who was like, oh, I dream of being married. I want to be married one day. If it happened, it happened, but it wasn't something that was like on my to-do list.
Mhm.
And I met this wonderful human being and we clicked and we kept clicking. And if you can survive a pandemic with somebody, I think you can pretty much survive anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So December of 2022 is when he asked me to marry him. And I got a letter from Hachette. I want to say it was like February of 2023. And they were saying, if you were of a certain age and had been at the company for 15 years, we're offering you a buyout. And I was like, this is it. This is my time to go explore what the rest of my life is going to look like. Because
So it
when you
was,
work at a job for a long time, you get real comfortable. And sometimes and to
Mhm.
me, being comfortable I get bored.
Yeah.
And it's not that the projects were boring, but it was the same day in and day out. There was nothing that was like super different or challenging. I mean, we had challenging parts, but there wasn't anything that was like n- making me excited anymore.
Yeah,
So,
I also feel like a lot of times we do get kind of stuck in a place that's comfortable, even if it's sometimes there's discomfort, but it's familiar
right,
and we're not necessarily doing what we're supposed to be doing, but stepping away from that into the great unknown, it really takes a big nudge from the universe, like getting a buyout offer. Or
yeah,
in my case, when I left Hachette, that was when in 2008 when the economy crashed and they were
mhm.
slashing and burning everything in public. I mean, like if you weren't basically upper level management, they were cutting the jobs.
Yeah, we got
And
scaled
so,
down to bare bones
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And so that really shoved me out of, because I had reached that point to where I was like, I wasn't as excited about things. And I didn't feel like I was being allowed to use my skills to the best of my abilities. And and growth just was not really feeling like it was going to happen. So, but I didn't want to move because I was like a steady paycheck. I'm a single mom. I mean, it's so funny how we have such similar trajectories on that as far as going back to school in adulthood or after we've got kids and everything, and then try and figure out what do I do with this degree now that I have it. And
right.
it's very, very similar. But yeah, but so that shoved me in a new direction, and there's just been a whole lot of stuff that's unfolded as a result of it. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like that was a big thing, um a big turning point for you. It was
It was.
getting this offer.
The year before, I had taken a month off. We were offered a sabbatical, and so I'd done a sabbatical, and I had gone to Portugal for a whole month. Never been to Portugal.
Nice.
Just
Yeah.
I just kind of had thought about different places that I wanted to do my sabbatical in. A lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm just going to take time at home." And I'm like, "When do you ever get a month off to do something?" And that month off really showed me that there was something out there that I was missing, something out there that I was craving and that I wasn't getting on a daily basis anymore. And so I was, it, it started that clock going in my head, like, and I just kept, some people hear like the baby clock. I was hearing what's next clock, like,
Yeah.
what's going
Yeah.
on? What are you going to do? How are you going to stimulate your mind again? And so when they offered that to me, it was perfect timing. My last day was June 30th of 2023. I got married September 23rd. September 23rd of 2023. I moved I left Nashville, which had been a really comfortable place for me because Nashville is like, once you get in and you meet people, it becomes a big town, not so much a big city because you know
Yeah.
people, you
Yeah.
see people, you go to a lot of the same events and you're always bumping into people that you know. Plus I'd gone to college there. I got my master's degree there and my undergraduate degree there. So I had a pretty big circle of people that I knew. So in 2024, April of 2024, I moved to Atlanta. And that was another shock to the system. So it was, after 50, I kind of did a whole lot of like, let me shock this system. I
Yeah.
wonder my nervous system's intact right now. But it was the best thing I could do. I kind of liking it to being, I had been walking around in slippers and real comfortable. And all of a sudden now I'm in stilettos and I have to kind of walk and figure this out, so
Yeah.
I don't look like a baby deer falling over. And you may fall over, but it's fine. And it was the best thing for me. I feel alive. I feel nervous. I don't know what's going on. When I first got here and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take a beat and just kind of relax. And then I was like, okay, it's time for me to look for a job. And I kept applying for these corporate positions and it just nothing was making me excited. Nothing was, inspiring me to want to be part of anybody's organization, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to apply for these jobs. Apply. And I wasn't really getting any traction. Just like most people, there's a lot of vehicles to apply for jobs, but a lot of those aren't really factual. Their companies are putting out fake job offers or what have you. So
Yeah.
I thought about it and I said, one thing I really do love is reading and I love books. And being in publicity, we were under the marketing umbrella. So we worked with sales and we worked with marketing and, we were under marketing and we worked with editorial. So I
Mhm.
kind of knew what publishers are looking for and how they go about choosing the authors that they do choose. And my mother has been a literary agent for 40 some odd years.
Mhm.
And I thought about it and I scheduled a meeting with her and I was like, okay, this is something that I believe that I can do. This is something that I think that I would be really good at. I have no problem meeting people and, listening to people's stories and I can kind of hear, if it's something worthy of moving forward or if it's something that I feel like, well, maybe you guys, maybe you have uh, a diary or a journal. Maybe you should be writing in a journal or a diary.
Yeah.
And so far, it's been a great ride. So I want to say April of 2025, I met an author and I started talking to him about, he came up to me, we were at a meeting together, he came up to me and he sent me his work and I was like, this is really, really good. So I've been working with him. There's a couple of other authors that I have. You're an author that I'm working with. And it has been a great learning experience. I feel energized, a little bit scared, and as you know, in book publishing, it's hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of get it in, get it on, keep connecting with the people, and then it's wait because you've got to wait for the answers and you've got to wait for, the meetings. And so
Yeah.
it's a little nerve-wracking, but I think that's good. It kind of gives me a little energy push every day.
Yeah. Well, so backing up, did you feel like I mean, was it a I still need income decision for finding a job, or was it a I'm just not ready to slow down and be retired kind of
I
decision?
think it's a little bit of both. I've never not had my own money. And,
Yeah.
being married, I mean, it's nice to have the cushion of someone that can take up the slack when there is no income coming in from
Yeah.
my side. But there's also this, I, I, I'm not done. There's
Yeah.
more for me to give. My mom will be 86 this year
That's
and
amazing.
she works harder than anybody that I know. She's a full on, I have to tell her, Mom, leave your office. She has an office in her building. And I have to, Mom, leave the office. And it could be a Sunday night at like 8 o'clock. And I'm like, girl, leave the office. So I know that my mission on this earth is not done. And I know that there's things that I can bring to the table and the perspective that I bring
Mhm.
can help others,
Yeah.
and because I read a lot and I'm also a social media junkie
Mhm.
and, like a pop culture social media kind of junkie. And so I see what's trending, what will be trending. Um, and so that to me, it's part of the fun. It's part of the lure, the chase.
Mhm. So, as far as the process, it sounds like it did not go exactly the way you expected. But is there anything that you would change about how you've gone through this exploration and moving into a new phase of life?
I think actually I probably would have started doing the literary agent a little bit earlier. Um, and not that, I waited too late or too long. It's just that I feel like I could have started a little bit sooner. Um,
Is that because you kind of knew in your gut that that's where you were headed and you were just kind of like pushing it off, or did it?
yeah, I was pushing it off. And just like you said, um, the steady paycheck does help,
Mhm.
and having
Yeah.
health care and steady paycheck. And, it's kind of hard to step out there and be an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
Um, and because it's scary, you
Yeah.
don't know when the next anything is going to happen.
Yeah.
And, but I wish I would have started just a little bit younger, a little bit earlier. But the way that it's going now, I think I have the maturity
Mm.
and the patience and the skills that I have acquired to be successful at this. So I think that, one of the things that I did do, because I had been at home for so long, I had to get my feet wet again and I had to meet new people on my own, not just my husband's friends because he had been living here or their wives or what have you. I needed my own circle. And
Hmm.
so one of the things that I did was I Googled women's organizations in the county that I live in.
Uh-huh.
And I saw this little random women's group that just happened to pop up, and it was $10 to attend. And it was a restaurant that I was familiar with. So I went up to the restaurant, and all of those women were fabulous. They were entrepreneurs. And it was maybe 10 to 12 of us at dinner. And every single one of them was just really nice. They did a round robin kind of thing, like a speed dating. So you could go around and meet different people, which was great. And then, they invited me to other organizations. Um, and it was great because this way I was able to meet other people. I'm also a member of the National Association of Black Journalists,
Oh, yeah.
the national organization, and they have local chapters. So I joined the Atlanta Association of Black Journalists. Again, that was another place for me to meet people and to cultivate friendships
Yeah.
and to cultivate potential clients. And out of that, I've actually cultivated a few clients. So I had to step out and, put those fears away and put your nerves away. I mean, I sat in the car and was like, oh my gosh, can I go in this by myself and not knowing anybody? And I had to just kind of take a deep breath because everybody meets everybody once for the first time. So I was like,
Oh, that's a
everybody
good
had to,
point. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, everybody has to step out, and you have to step out on faith, and you have to know that you are not an imposter, that you are the real deal. And I mean, we all struggle with imposter syndrome. Like, can I really do
Hmm.
this? Am I as good as I think I might be that other people say? And I think that really helped me, starting
Hmm.
small, going to smaller events, and then having somebody hold my hand going to another event, and just meeting with people one on one to see what they do in their community. And I mean, I met with so many different people just doing their own thing. And it was refreshing to be able to see that.
Yeah. Now, have you had to do some of the same type of thing for your for this new career adventure as well? As far as like meeting new people or making new contacts, or is it close enough to what you were doing that you have some of those relationships that carry over?
So I do have some of the relationships that carry over, but remember, I was in publicity. So after the books got acquired.
Right.
So now it's a matter of meeting people in editorial.
Yes.
And trying to figure out what expenses are worthy. So for me, that was going to a BIPOC book party, Christmas party
Mhm.
in New York. So I flew up because I wanted to be able to meet people in kind of a casual environment. I also went to the American Association of Literary Agents conference so that I could meet other literary agents. Plus, they had people in from the book publishing industry. So it's a matter of doing the research, figuring out where you can meet people that will be beneficial for you as well as them, because you want to be an asset to them. You want to be somebody that they actually come to when they're looking for projects.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a matter of maintaining relationships, which is a little bit more difficult when you don't live in New York, and the
Sure.
hub of book publishing is New York.
Right. Always
And
has been and
we
always
worked
will
at
be. Yeah.
we worked at in Nashville because that's the hub of Christian book publishing, and we worked,
Right.
we had Christian book publishing. That was those were our imprints.
Mhm.
So my mom lives in New York, which is great. So I can, that has afforded me the ability to be able to go up when I need to, or if there's this year BookCon is back, which
Mhm.
if people don't know, BookCon was like book. It's a big book conference.
Mhm.
It's a little bit different this year because it's widely open to the public, which is strange to me because like
Yeah.
BookCon for us was, I think the first couple of days was industry, and then like the last, like Saturday and Sunday, it was open to the public. Well, no, now this is BookCon is open to everybody. It was like the Hunger Games trying to get tickets.
Oh
It
my
was,
gosh.
I mean, you would have thought it was like trying to get tickets for Beyonce and Taylor Swift. I mean, we tried to get tickets
That's
for
so
Saturday,
strange.
couldn't get them. We got them for Sunday. That's how crazy it was. And then they opened up another block of tickets, and still those went immediately.
Mhm.
So that's in April. So that's something that, yes, that's something that I have on my schedule, just to go around and meet different booksellers and, subscribing to different literary organizations. That's something else that, that I've been doing diligently.
Um, so what kind of direction do you see this going, or what what kind of identity are you forming in your new role as an agent? Are there specific types of books that you really want to dig into to help put out there, or are you open to all genres? And what type of agent are, because there are all kinds of caricatures of agents, and not just like thanks to um like Entourage or ca- of other television shows that showcase a certain type of agent. um do you have an idea about what kind of identity you want to have in that regard?
It's kind of fun. Right now, no. Right now, I'm open to everything, any and everything, because I want to represent books that make me excited.
Yeah.
And so I'm working with a cardiologist who is working on the mind body connection, and I think that
Nice.
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And because the fact that he's actually a cardiologist and not an influencer,
Uh-huh.
per se,
Yeah.
he's actually coming from the world of medicine, but with the understanding that your body doesn't heal just because of medicine. There's other things that go into helping you heal. So I think that that's interesting. I've got a person who's working on a book about Afrofuturism and about what it's like, kind of like it it's a historical look at our world and when there's superheroes.
Uh-huh.
So, it's a whole lot of different things. I have a couple of people working on memoirs, and memoirs are hard, but when they're good, they're really, really good.
Yeah.
And the people that I'm working with it's so nice to discover when somebody's a good writer and they don't even know that they're a good writer, and
Yeah.
they have a beautiful use of language and they know how to craft a story. So I'm working with someone who had no intentions of writing, and I was like, and they were like, well, I think I have an interesting story. And they sent me like one page. And
Mhm.
the way they used words and the descriptive language, I was like, how could you not be a writer? So
Yeah.
every now and again, I harass her and I'm like, all right, I need 2 or 3 more pages. And so she'll
Yeah.
crank out 2 or 3. And I was like, in about a year, we'll have a book.
Well, having written or helped people write a few memoirs, I get it. It's, you know, being able to find a way to tell your story in a way that sings and that is more than just relating a chronology of life events
Right.
is, that's the challenge in that particular area. And yeah, when you find somebody who actually really does know how to turn a phrase in a way that makes it come alive more than just being a series of words on a page. It's a special experience.
Yeah. People
Well,
need a buy-in and
yeah.
they need to know that your experience could be their experience, and they want people want to be able to see I can get through this too. They want to see the ups and the downs. They don't want to see a linear lifestyle. They want to know that, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, or how other people may have dealt with it, but being able to use words to convey emotions, that's really important.
Well, and that's really kind of that touches on my goal for this whole podcast series is to give people kind of a buy-in to taking chances or risks, even when you think, oh, I'm too old or that ship has sailed or whatever, just to see other people's stories of everyday people. It's so much harder when you feel small
Yeah.
to think of doing something big or bigger. And so that's, I want people to see that their neighbors are sometimes doing something and you might not even know about it, or they might have done something that makes it public that draws attention to what they're doing. But in most cases, people are just taking a chance to, and this goes to what I was thinking about when I asked you what your identity is going to be with this new phase of life, but just taking a chance to have a new identity, to think of yourself in a new way, and to um, show up in the world in a different way. And so I guess that would really kind of be my last question for you, is to talk a little bit about, how it feels to show up in the world in a different way and to have this new way of being Laney and for the next, hopefully, another 50 years,
It's exciting. I have to get used to saying, I'm a literary agent,
Uh-huh.
without giggling. Like,
Yeah.
is this is this what I'm really supposed? Okay, and I have to, sit in it, and a lot of times people get to their late 40s, early 50s, and they're like, all right, it's time for me to start winding down. And for me, I'm winding up.
Mhm.
Why there's still so much life to be lived. I'm not in polyester pants and, sitting at the old folks home. I want to keep living because I feel young. I feel like, and I feel like this is a really powerful time in my life because of the fact that I feel young, but I have the knowledge of
Yeah.
experience. And
Yeah.
I think that gives my life a whole different meaning, and that I didn't have when I was 30,
Mhm.
and just trying to survive and raise kids. And now I can take a minute and figure out what it is. Just like you asked, like, what am I looking for? I don't know.
Mm.
I'm looking for things that pique my interest, because I don't think that concentrating on one particular genre would work for me,
Mhm.
because I have a varied interest. And so I feel like this gets to open up different doors for me. This gets to open up, as much as my authors are writing about it, I'm researching it.
Mhm.
I want to know more. I love to learn. And I think that that's the beauty of books, because every time you pick up a book, you're learning a new lesson.
Mhm.
And I think that that's the journey of life. You can sit there and just fade into oblivion and not, do anything. And that's not who I am. I want to make sure that my mark is left, when I finally do depart,
Mhm.
but I also want to go out and feeling like I didn't leave any stone unturned.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is the gift of midlife, is that you no longer have to have it all figured out and mapped out and feel like if you don't have that dialed in that you are failing. And it's just being able to say, you know what, don't know where this is going, don't know what it's going to yield, but it feels like the thing I'm supposed to do right now, so let's go.
Yeah,
And
and it's the gift of being able to say no. And
yes.
it's the gift
Well,
of being able to say and
exactly.
saying no without an explanation. No,
Yeah.
that's not for me. I don't.
Yeah, the
That's
whole no is a it is
it's a
a one
complete
word answer.
sentence.
Yeah, it's a complete sentence. Yeah.
And I think that when you get to be a certain age, you really really lean into that. You there's the answer is no. I don't have FOMO. I don't feel like I'm missing out on
Mhm.
anything.
Mhm.
Um, I have, I've done a lot and I've experienced a lot. And now everything that I do and want, it's, I'm curated. I'm curating what I want my life to look like
Mhm.
versus my life was kind of curating me, So,
Yeah.
one step, it was just like, okay, well, here we go. And
Yeah.
now it's kind of like, oh no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm happy and I'm good. So I think that life after 50, I mean, I got married at 52 for the first time in my life. So I
Yeah.
think that, I'm all about, life after 50. It's
Yeah.
this has been some of the best time that I've had.
Yeah.
I'll be 55 in a month. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm just a few days ahead of you
Yep.
on that one. So yeah. Uh, but yeah, I know what you mean. It feels like for the first massive chunk of my life, I it was I don't know if you ever gone water skiing and you fall forward and you get dragged behind the boat
Oh,
for yards and yards and yards because it's like you forget that you could let go
mm,
of the handle and stop all of that. And and I know for myself, I've really until just the last 6 months, I felt like I was, had get that flood in my face of life just throwing one thing after another at me and trying to constantly keep my head above water and then, just let go. And all of a sudden I can stop and see what's around me and make the decision about whether I swim out and grab a hold of the rope again and try another run up the skiing or climb in the boat or go to the shore. It's just to beat that metaphor to death.
yeah.
But
And then or just float.
yeah,
Some
yeah, or just float. Yeah, and I feel like that really is kind of what midlife wants you to do is to just say, okay, you know, I'm gonna take a beat and see what could lie out there that I couldn't see before because of the
everything was just coming
onslaught,
at you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm very excited for all the crazy things that are unfolding for me because I did say, sure, why not? you know, and getting to talk to other people who are doing the same thing. I really I want this to become a thing where people, because, we're Gen Xers and, pretty much everybody in midlife right now is a Gen Xer. And we have a very unique life course that we've experienced up to this point. And we are the generation, certainly, of all of that pressure from society to get those degrees and do certain things
Buy the
and
house, get the car,
yeah,
have the
and
kids.
all before you're 30.
Yeah.
And you know, and so now we're at 50 and we're like, well, I did all of those things or I tried to do all those things and they evaded me. So now what? Well, that's what these conversations are going to do, is show
It's about
people.
finding joy. It's
Yeah.
about finding, because we
Yeah.
did, just like you said, Gen Xers, we're a whole different tribe.
Mhm.
We're feral.
Yes.
We raised ourselves,
Yes. Latchkey kids and
latchkey kids. We knew how to
yeah.
cook. We knew how to, get home, do stuff.
Mhm.
I grew up in New York City and was
Yeah.
taking the bus and subways and stuff by myself by the age of
Yeah.
10, and so now it's just kind of like, okay, I can kind of, that fight or flight, I can kind
Yeah.
of let it go a little
Yeah.
bit and
Yeah.
just kind of relax and kind of lean into new experiences and a softer way of living. It's just, it's a little bit softer.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things, because that was one of the things that I really kind of had to work to release from myself over the last 6 months, is that it doesn't have to be this hard. There's some things that in life that are just going to be hard, but
Mhm.
you don't have to deliberately make things hard, or as if it's like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing my podcast in the camper that I took on the road through all of 24. And one of the things I'd love to be able to do is grow the podcast so that maybe, like, when we reach the end of this season, next season, I could go on the road and interview people where they are. And, but I want to upgrade the camper, because I'm like, I did that and it was cool and everything. And it was all I could afford at the time, was to get this pop-up camper. But I am 55 now, and I don't want to have to set up a camper, break it down, and haul it to the next location every time I want to go to a new spot. And I was just like, I really had to, like, resist the urge to do it the hard way again, to earn points somehow. And I was
Right.
like, you don't have to do that. And it's
It
just
doesn't have to
giving ourselves
be.
permission to be softer, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a lesson, because, like you said, we grew up feral.
Yeah. I mean, ready to, fight or flight at any
Yeah.
moment's notice,
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, I see an Airstream in your future.
Yeah, well, I've been poking around and looking at some, like, the Class C types. I want one that I don't have to tow, because the cat will come along the road on with me, and he doesn't like being in the car, but I think he would tolerate being in a camper, because he could go
Right.
sleep in the back or on the bed or whatever, and roam around, and uh, that'll make it easier for him. But yeah, so I've been poking around, and maybe somebody will sponsor me and I can just, that
Absolutely.
kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that's my dream, is that this catches on, and that there are a whole lot more people out there who want to share their own stories, and that I could do, a summer tour of interviewing people,
Oh
and
yeah.
and you know because each conversation is going to be with someone who's done something a little bit different in a little bit different way. And I am always preaching that um, one of the things about great storytelling is that you offer an opportunity and an entry point for someone to see themselves and see possibility. And in each story, even though it may be similar as far as, like, the archetypes, or the basic life experience or human experience, but the different details are what make it resonate for one person over another. And so I'm hoping that the different conversations that we have will do that for other people.
I think it's needed. A lot of people like to say, like, 50 is the new 30. No,
Hmm.
50 is the new 50,
Yeah.
and be happy.
Yeah.
That there are a lot of people who didn't get to make it to 50 and are thriving. And so 50 is the new 50, where it's a different 50. It's not, I mean, when you look back at it and you say the Golden Girls, when they were on the show, they were supposed to be in their 50s.
Uh,
And you look at them and you're like, well, that's not who I am, That's,
right. It's like, I
I'm
don't
not,
look like
I think,
that.
yeah, I think Sophia was supposed to be like 70, at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
most. But I think all the rest of them were in their 50s. And I'm like, ooh, no, that's not who we
Yeah.
are. And that's
Yeah.
not, that's not how I see myself. That's not how I see my friends. So I
Yeah.
think that, if this can inspire other women to take a chance, take a leap, do the thing that they've always wanted to do. I think that it's a wonderful thing. You know, I was looking at a TikTok and this girl was like, yeah, I just try a whole bunch of new things. She's like, I went to school, got a degree in history, thought I'd be a journalist. That didn't work. Thought I'd be in nursing, didn't like that. Went to phlebotomy school, never got hired as a phlebotomist. And now I'm teaching school. And she's been teaching for 5 years. She said, every time something didn't work, I tried something new. And she
Yeah.
was like, I don't know why people just stop. Just
Yeah.
keep going. If you haven't, just keep going.
Yeah.
Try something new every day. Try something, try a different food. Try, wear a different piece of clothing, do something that's outside of your comfort zone so that your outside of your comfort zone becomes your comfort zone.
I love it. Yeah, exactly. And that was actually going to be my last question, is what kind of advice would you have for someone who is considering it? And you just perfectly summed it up right there. I think that's
Great.
awesome. Yeah. Well, Laney, I am so grateful for to hang in and spend this time with you. I
This
think
was
the last
fun.
time I saw you in person, you had just actually started dating your husband, or well, yeah, your to-be
Yep.
husband, and so it's really great to catch up a little bit. And I wish you all the best and
Thank you.
great success in this new version of you, wherever it takes you. And and that's career wise, family wise, all of it. And just have so much fun.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. And I can't wait to see the outcome.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you
Okay.
later.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna do something new. I'm gonna turn these wheels into wings, flying through the endless blue, finding my own way, drinking from new springs, from the mountains high and the valleys low.